Hello and welcome to Workbooks End User Training. This is part of a series of short tutorials guiding you through the basics of using Workbooks. Like most other software, Workbooks provides you with a preferences area where you can control many aspects of what you see on screen. This tutorial is going to guide you through some of these options. There are many things you can do within preferences, including controlling the look and feel of your desktop. For instance, you can choose where the taskbar appears, as well as controlling how many windows you can have open at any one time. You can nominate your default own organisation. An own organisation is used to represent the entity that you work for, and for most of you, you'll only work for one, but if you do work for more than one, you can specify the default within preferences. You can set your default transaction currency. If your business trades in more than one currency, you can change that on each transaction record you work with, but within preferences you can set the default for the one that you use most frequently. This option won't be available in your preferences if your database hasn't been set up to use more than one currency. You can control how many rows of data to display on a page. If you've watched the Views and Filters tutorial, you'll have seen landing pages using the default setting of 20 rows per page, but you can modify this. You can specify how many recent items to keep, and you can control which system shortcuts appear on your Workbooks desktop. You can set up telephone integration with your VoIP software, and you can configure your notifications and reminders so that they default to working the way that you prefer. You can set up your defaults for the language that you use, that you see on the screen when you're using Workbooks, as well as setting up your time zone and your date-time formats. You can control the default search behaviour settings, and, as you'd expect, you can change your password. You can control which windows are pinned to your desktop, which ones open up as soon as you log in, and finally you can control email behaviour, including setting up a default signature. We're not going to go through absolutely everything in this tutorial, but we will talk about the most commonly used options, which are the ones that are shown here in red. You'll find your preferences at the bottom of the options when you click on the Start arrow, so down here. If your administrator has allowed it, you might be able to change the look and feel of your interface. You can tick the checkbox next to Choose a Look and Feel, which opens up the theme, the taskbar position and the shortcut layout fields for you. Our recommendation is to use the modern theme, and my personal preference is to have the taskbar on the left with the shortcut buttons shown vertically, just as the options are showing here. But experiment with the settings to see what suits you best. Further down, Workbooks allows you to have multiple records open on your desktop at any one time. Scrolling down here to the desktop interface section, you can control how many windows you have open at any one time, up to a maximum of 20. And you can also control what happens to the windows when you've exceeded that number. You can minimize them into what we call the system tray, which for me is this part on the left, or you can close them. If you're wondering what happens if you've got a record open that you haven't actually saved yet, Workbooks will prompt you, it won't just close that record. Up here in Lists is where you can control the number of items that are shown on each page in those grid views that you'll have seen. You can set it to be a maximum of 100 rows per page. Just below it, the Recent Items section is where you will find a specified number of recent items of each record type. Remember, the Recent Items button is this one with the little kind of clock symbol on it underneath your Start button. By default, you will see 5 system shortcuts on your desktop. I'm just going to minimize preferences to show you what I mean. These 5 here. And within preferences, if you don't want to see those, you can take the tick out of the box and not see them anymore. Further down within the Notifications and Reminders section, notifications are generated in Workbooks if someone assigns a record of any type to you. And also you can set reminders about activities and meetings, which also arrive as notifications. You can use the settings here to control how those notifications arrive. By default, they will pop up on your Workbooks desktop, but you do have some other options. A popular one is to send the notifications via email if you're not logged into Workbooks, which can be very handy if you've synced up your emails and your mobile phone, because it means you'll get the notifications on your phone. You can also, if I click away from here, set the default behavior for meetings and tasks in terms of how far in advance of those meetings and tasks the reminder is set for, but you can change it individually and override them on an individual activity record. If you've watched the search tutorial, you'll know that the default behavior is a quick search, which means that we search for records with names starting with your search term. If you want to change this behavior to a regular search, which looks for the search term anywhere in the record, remove the tick from the quick search default checkbox. Remember, if you make some changes to your preferences, you will need to go up to the top and either click Save or Save and Close. And if you don't like the settings that you've changed them to, change them back. Also within this area of the screen, you are able to change your password. It's the option just under Preferences here. Your system administrator should have set up your password to expire periodically, but if you've got any reason to think that it's been compromised or you simply want to change it, you can do so here. Make sure that you know what the requirements are though before you try to do this in terms of the length of the password and what characters are acceptable before trying to do it here. The final area we're going to look at in this tutorial is the My Pinned Windows option. I've just clicked on it and you can see there's nothing appearing on the right hand side. You may have seen though in an earlier tutorial that you can pin windows to your desktop so that they open as soon as you log in. These can be individual records or landing page views. I'm just going to go to my recent items and select a couple of things to pin. You can activate pinning either by clicking this little push pin at the top here, or alternatively under the icon. The push pin appears here too, so I can switch it off. I've just switched it on the other way. I can switch it off here if I want to. I'll leave it switched on for now and close that record. And let me pin something else. Straight away here within my pinned windows you can see that they are both now available and showing up as being pinned. Let me just show you what that looks like if I'm going to just reload my browser, which simulates logging in again. And both of those records, the record for Atlantic Computer Services and the report that I pinned, have appeared on the screen. When you pin something, it always appears the size and in the position it was in at the time that you pinned it. If I go back to my preferences, we saw earlier that they were both showing up in the My Pinned Windows, and I can control it here. I could just say, no, I don't want cases by type, that report to appear anymore. So that's an overview of what you can do within your preferences. Remember, there is also a separate tutorial that will cover email if you want to know some more about that. Thank you for watching this tutorial, which I hope you found useful. For more information, remember to visit our knowledge base, which you can find at www.workbooks.com/knowledge_base. Thanks, bye bye.